On a warm summer night of 1995, Michael Bay is going through his VHSs and he happens to come across some promo for Bad Boys. Since the promos were mainly comprised of commercials that were being shown on TV, he managed to come across a news anchor that was doing a story about these bodybuilders who managed to pull off an extortion to steal money from this one guy. And he thought to himself, man, that would be a really cool idea. I would like to make a movie out of that. After he was done, he popped in the VHS for Goodfellas, and the rest was history. Fast forward 18 years later, and now we have Pain and Gain. Loosely based on the true story about these two bodybuilders. Well, the movie's marketed as two bodybuilders, but in reality it's actually three. Three bodybuilders who managed to pull off an extortion off this one tycoon who's just one ginormous douchebag. And our protagonist, Daniel Lugo, played by Mark Wahlberg, says, you know what? You're a prick, you don't deserve it, we do, we're taking it. He recruits the help of Paul and Adrian, played by Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Anthony Mackie respectively, and chaos ensues. This is one of those rare moments where I said, this movie could not have gone to any other director, none other than Michael Bay. Take one of the most just completely out there, bizarre, ludicrous, yet it happened, or at least most of it happened in real life stories, very much in the similar. It's like the yang to the yin that is Argo, where the story is just so ludicrous that you're like, wow, did this really happen? Am I really questioning reality here? And then you realize that it was, and you're like, wow. But of course, I say the yin and yang because Argo is a completely different beast than this. This is mainly made to entertain. But you take a story like that and you throw it to one of the most visual and most stylized directors out in the business today, and you got yourself a very entertaining movie. Referring back to my comment about Goodfellas, I like that this is a movie that had probably the most dense narrative that any of Michael Bay movies have had, because here, every time they would switch to a new character, that character would monologue within his own head as the scene is progressing. So I was like, okay, that's actually very interesting. Now, I'll admit, it starts off a little rough. Daniel Lugo, played by Mark Wahlberg, is just one of the biggest meatheads you will see in cinema today. He's one of those guys, I'm pretty sure you have encountered him or her at some point in your life. He's that person that you look at and say, why are you so stupid? Now when I say stupid, I don't mean, oh, you're not smart. No, I mean you're using actual knowledge and using it in the stupidest way. And when you ask that, you don't ask it rhetorically, condescending, or sarcastically. You genuinely ask, how does their mind work? You're actually kind of fascinating. And that's both a complaint and a praise that I could give this movie, is that some of these characters are kind of unlikable. They're not unbearable, you're not wishing for them to die, but at the same time, they're meatheads. Each with their somewhat likable quality, but for the majority of the time, it's just like, dude. Like, for example, Anthony Mackie, most of the time, he kind of has this, he's giving off this vibe like he's way over his head, obviously. But there's this one scene where he's talking to The Rock and being all this, that annoying, smart-aleck, quick-talking kind of guy, and I'm like, that felt completely out of character because that's not how he is in the entire rest of the movie. But like I was saying before, the first 20-25 minutes just centers on Daniel Lugo, and like I said, this guy's a bit of a meathead. He's not unbearable, but you just go, you kind of wish he would already meet The Rock and enter The Rock, and the movie picks up immensely from there, and it becomes basically a very stylized, definitive Michael Bay version of the Three Stooges, where these guys are just completely dumb, but because they're dumb, you want to see what they do next. You want to see where they're going with, the situations that they're in and how they're going to get out of the situation. And again, it's very outlandish, it's very, over the top, but you just can't help but keep watching and be like, what are you going to do? I want to see what you're going to do. You're not the smartest person ever, but I want to see what you do. Now, apart from changing the number of bodybuilders that are involved in this story, another thing that's also advertised in its marketing is that this is a dark comedy. Is it? Kinda. There were some good jokes here and there that genuinely made me laugh. There were some moments that would have made me laugh if I had not seen the trailer. And other times, I'm just gonna go ahead and admit it, the humor didn't exactly work. But the rest is filled in with, Michael Bay-isms. You got the girls dancing and being all provocative like they always are, with these swooping camera angles and 360 shots. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw you a conundrum. While still retaining all those Michael Bay-isms, it is probably the least Michael Bay-ish movie of all of Michael Bay's movies. And this proves in its budget. I had to look this up. This movie was made with only $25 million. This is probably the smallest budgeted movie of Michael Bay since probably Bad Boys. One explosion in this movie, and it's a car. So that's a pretty big deal. And it was reported that Michael Bay himself and Mark Wahlberg and Dwayne Johnson took pay cuts to make this movie. And apparently it shows, because it just feels like they're into it. They cared about the movie enough to make it entertaining without making people roll their eyes. And last but not least, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think there's a legitimate reason as to why he's in over 4 movies this year, and that is because not only is the guy charismatic, but by far he is indeed growing as an actor. Out of all the characters in this movie, he was my favorite, and his performance was also my favorite. Mark Wahlberg and Anthony Mackie were great, but it was Dwayne Johnson who, I'm not gonna say, should go out for an Oscar. No. Slow down. But I did say that he made his character his own, and he made it fascinating, and out of the 3, he was the one who I genuinely wanted to see almost a spin-off movie. I mean, I hear this talk about a spin-off of his character from the Fast and Furious movies. No, I want to see a spin-off of Paul Doyle, his character here in Pain and Gain. I want to see what he does beyond this movie. It ended up being probably one of the most entertaining experiences I've had in the theater so far. But it's definitely not gonna win any Oscars, and I don't exactly see it making my top 10 at the end of the year. I'm gonna give Pain and Gain a 7.7 out of 10, which is a C+. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more reviews. Check out my channel for even more reviews. Follow me on Twitter, and I thank you guys for watching. Take care, and be sure to drink your milk.